We're talking movies, we're talking beers. So sit back, relax, and cheers. Here's to another good old Flicks on Tap.
Welcome back to Flicks on Tap. As you guys can see, I have someone new sitting next to me today. A good friend of the podcast, Steven. Say hello to everyone, Steven.
Hi, everyone.
So, we had a special movie viewing earlier today, and we decided we needed to have a conversation about it with a quasi-expert over here on vampires. As you can guess, we watched Nosferatu, the Robert Eggers movie. Fantastic movie. We're going to get into that. We're going to drink some beers, as always. Steven is not much of a beer drinker, so I brought back one of the classics from one of the original episodes for Flicks on Tap, which is Picnic Lightning. It's a little bit of a sweeter beer. It's a hazy IPA. It's 6.8% alcohol by volume, and it comes out of San Pedro, California. It is extremely tasty, and I always recommend this to people who don't like beers because it's like a nice segue into to tasting heavier beers. So I'm going to pour myself a little one and pour some for Steven as well. We'll get into something way heavier later.
Perfect. I usually trust whatever Giancarlo gives me because he knows. He's like, I think you'll like this. And every time he's given me one, I'm like, this is it. Yep. I won't trust it from anyone else.
All right. Go ahead and pour yourself some.
Yeah.
So for the audience, as you can see, it's extremely hazy. It almost looks like a Sunny D with a little bit of head on top. So, ooh, look at, you hear that pour, everybody? That's so nice. But this beer is, nice pour.
Oh, I was so scared.
Dang, Evan, his pours are better than yours, buddy. Anyways, so it's extremely hazy, extremely tasty. If you give it a sniff, extremely fruity, tropical. And let's give it a taste.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Alrighty. Just as good as I remember. It's a beer, but it's sweet. You don't get as much of those hoppy notes that you normally do with some heavier IPAs, but they're still there in the background a little bit. You get a lot of the tropical fruity notes. What do you think about it, Steven?
I think it's great. It is very, tropical, and it's not the kind of beer taste that I ever associate with beer, so Good job.
Awesome. Glad I could recommend a good one. Anyways, even though we talk a lot about beer, we also talk a lot about movies, and we watched one that I was super excited for since they first announced it years ago. I love everything Robert Eggers has done so far, except The Norseman. I haven't seen that one yet. But The Witch is great. The Lighthouse is fantastic with Willem Dafoe. And this one was just as great in my opinion. But we'll see what Steven thinks about it.
I thought it was good. So I think I told you, but I didn't give you too much detail. When I was in college, one of the courses that I was able to take was on vampires and werewolves. It was a Slavic folklore class. And so we did a lot of film study. We did a lot of literature study too for both mostly vampires, but had some werewolf elements in there too. And so I had been exposed to Nosferatu. I mean, yes, the first time was SpongeBob, but before, after that, right, was
classic.
The original, and then we watched the remake from the 70s, and then we watched this one. So over winter break, my family and I did a marathon where we watched one every single night up until we got to this one. So it was not my favorite of the three, but there were elements of it that were I really appreciated from a vampire perspective, and then other elements that I didn't super like. I think both from a film and a vampire perspective.
Gotcha. For me, the original 1922 version by Murnau was just a landmark movie. It was one of the first horror movies ever. So it just has a place in film history. I love film in general, so it's one of my favorite horror movies, silent movies ever. And to me, to be a silent film that holds up that well, where you can still watch it 102 years after it was released, is insane to me.
Yeah.
And so I've watched it 2 or 3 times. I really enjoy it every time I watch it. I think I actually kind of like it better than the new one, to be honest with you. I just I don't know if it's the nostalgia of it or just the fact that they were able to create so much when the technology was so new.
Yeah.
That's super impressive to me. I love when movies have a really good story behind them. We're just talking to you too. It's such a good story that they made a whole movie about it. The Shadow of the Vampire, which also stars Willem Dafoe, who is in the new Nosferatu. So I really want to watch it. I haven't seen it. You said you didn't see that one either.
I haven't seen it yet, but
we should check that out together.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
There was a list that had the top 30 vampire movies, and that was I can't remember where on the list it was, but I saw it and I was like, oh my God, we need to watch this. Willem Dafoe just loves his vampire movies too, because he was also in Daybreakers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that movie.
Oh, that one is very gory.
Mm-hmm.
It's horror in the same way that this one is horror movie.
Gotcha.
But it was so it's like I guess not even post-apocalyptic. It's like in the future where the entire human population are now vampires, but there's a blood shortage.
Ooh.
And so people are like going crazy because they're running out of blood. And he plays a significant role for Ethan Hawke, who is the main character.
Nice. That sounds like a good cast.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was good. If you are a fan of Robert Eggers, you'll love the movie. If you're a fan of vampires, I'm pretty sure you'll like it. But what I was picking up on big time was it really strays away from like the myths you hear as a kid about vampires.
Mm-hmm.
He felt more like almost demonic to me in this movie. And it kind of tied into what the original Dracula, Bram Stoker's novel, talks about.
Yeah.
I haven't read it since high school, but I read the first 80 pages in preparation for the movie the other day. And it, from what I remember and what I just read, it ties in really well.
Oh yeah, I mean that was the whole controversy before, like of the original movie too, was that it was Dracula.
It was an issue in the courts with the copyright infringement on the novel and Murnau's production, and even though he changed the names to Orlok, which they used Orlok again, which is awesome. I was happy they did that and not just Dracula, because then it would just been another Dracula movie.
They did that in the 70s one.
Yeah. Oh, they did.
Mm-hmm.
Tech guys coming in. Keep going.
I think that was part of the reason why, like, I did like the 70s one, only because I know that it is just Dracula. So hearing him, like, why y'all trying to do too much with the name change?
Sorry. I just have it on my headphone wire now, so I'm trying to make it. There we go. So much noise. It's okay.
Is it okay?
It's fine.
Because you gotta tuck in.
It's just sinking down a lot.
I feel like the expert right now because mine is just chilling.
Yeah, Steven's crushing it.
Yeah, it's all good. I think I got it. I just can't move much.
Okay, you're stuck, dude.
Anyways, where were we?
He was very demonic. He actually gave. So we talked about like Vlad Tepes in my class too, and he was giving more of that in that Vlad was this like obviously like this like royalty figure who was also very tied into like that demonic energy too. And so seeing that, and then he had the same kind of mustache, and so I was like, okay, all right, Vlad, I see you.
That was the mustache described in the book as well, which I enjoyed that they brought that back, because the Orlok from the 1922 one did not have that.
No mustache.
We have a little Funko to join us today, as well as the novel, 2 different editions. But it's a really good book too. Just going back and reading what I read the other day, it's really entertaining.
Yeah. Well, I think so. One of my, and I think this is just like my like gripe with vampires in general, is that like they're, for the most part, they're not as queer as they should be. Like the idea of like drinking someone's blood, right, and like just being that like physically close to someone is just inherently queer. And there was like elements of that in the original Dracula story too, with like, I can't even, John.
Well, I read that so Bram Stoker took inspiration from a story called Carmilla or something like that, and that was a lesbian vampire. Yep. Yeah,
we talked about that in my class too. We had so much. That was my favorite class. Did not have to study for the final because I just remembered everything.
I had a few classes like that too that I really enjoyed, but the ones I took that were just kind of like my class like that, I took a Western film class, a mafia film class, and then New Testament and Old Testament Bible studies. I really enjoyed all of those. They opened my eyes to a lot of things. When you study stuff from an academic perspective, it really changes the way you look at things. And that's why I was really excited to do this episode, just knowing that you've looked at this stuff from that perspective. It changes the way you talk about it.
My family, so my brother, I think I've told you, my brother is very like into film and I refer to him as a film snob lovingly, but I tell him that. And so he was excited to watch this movie when we were going to be home for Christmas. And he told my mom like, oh, no, we need to watch this. And my mom was like, oh no, we have to convince your brother. And then when she called me and told me that, I was like, excuse me, I love vampires. Like, I studied them. I mean, it was a first semester, but I was like, I studied them. You don't have to convince me of anything. If anything, I would have to convince all of you. But no, I think going back to like the queerness of it, the like Tom in the movie and then Jonathan in the book, like there are elements of like once he's left the castle, or even like while he's in the castle, he like is like fearfully enamored by Dracula. And so I was like wanting more of that in this remake.
Yeah, there is a scene in the book I remember reading where it said something and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't recall that at all, but I see what you're getting at about the queerness of it. Yeah, it definitely had those undertones in the book for sure.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel that in the movie much.
In any of the movies. And I think just like in any sort of vampire thing, that's why my favorite iteration of vampires right now is Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire series.
Going on, it's, what is it, FX or something? Yeah.
That one is like, it's in your face about like the queerness, but like that's what she was intending with it too. Like she wrote it as a love story.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I read the book when I was really young, so that stuff flew over my head, you know what I mean? But it was, I've always really liked the idea of vampires as well. I just think they're very interesting. The movies have always been around. I really liked Twilight when I was a kid.
Yeah. I brought my brother a Twilight shirt for him to wear when we went to watch the movie.
Yeah, I saw that picture you posted.
I love Twilight.
Yeah, even Evan loves Twilight. But yeah, no, I watch Twilight all the time because it's one of Nisha's favorite movies to just rewatch.
Did you ever watch The Vampire Diaries? It was a series, but...
I seen it when it was coming out, like right when it first premiered. I think I watched the first few episodes or something, like with my sister when I was a kid, yeah. But I don't remember anything about it.
Oh, it's great. I told... Using it like how professors will ask for feedback. In my form, I was like, you should like talk about this in the class because there are elements of like true vampire lore that are embedded into the like into it, like the invitation in, like the like mental powers, like all of this stuff.
This is something I wanted to bring up on this podcast specifically with you because you might know the answer. So something I really liked about the Symphony of Terror, the 22 version of Nosferatu, was that opening kind of scene where Jonathan Harker's traveling and he kind of looks through some like research and discovers things about vampires. So what is the actual lore at that point in time that was surrounding vampires? What did they believe about vampires historically that this movie we watched today either got wrong or got right? Because in my opinion, like I said, it felt more demonic. I felt like I was watching... There's that scene where he goes to the Orthodox monastery and they're kind of like exorcising him almost. And so to me, I didn't realize that was like a vampire thing. That felt demonic to me. That felt like Paranormal Activity, The Conjuring, but it didn't feel like a vampire thing. So what I'm asking, I guess, is the perception of vampires that we have today, Twilight, Vampire Diaries, any other movie that you've seen recently, versus this whole demonic version. Which one's more accurate historically?
I'm so glad you asked that. My favorite fun fact about vampires is that they were actually once considered just bloated corpses. Like, because, so the scene that we saw...
Heard this. This is awesome.
Yeah, no, so the scene that we watched in the movie, right, where they were like, a spoiler, right, they were exhuming that body, that was my favorite part in the whole movie because it was very tied to like actual belief. So in like history and like historical context, they didn't know what a decomposing body looked like, right? Like we didn't have science at that point. And well, we had science, but it was very different. And so when there would be someone in the village who died and then someone else shortly after was getting sick, they were like immediately like, oh, it's a vampire. Like the person who just died has come back. And
so
is
that's
like,
how they tie to that whole plague idea. Okay. Because I know that's huge in the 22 version as well as this one, but that whole plague thing doesn't really connect to other vampire stories.
Yeah.
But I think that's very crucial, especially given what you just said.
Yeah, it's very tied to like that. And so they would exhume the body and then stab like the corpse. And so like any of the like release that came from like stabbing a dead body, they were like, oh, this is the evil, like this truly was a vampire. And so then they would hope that like all of the plague and the sickness and everything would stop. And so like when they would look at the body itself, like their gums would recede, and so it looked like they had elongated fangs, and then like their skin would recede on their fingernails, so it looked like they had that's why like
long fingers.
Orlok has very, very long fingernails. And so it really just came from like a lack of understanding in connection to like that sickness too.
Yeah. To me, it's really interesting how a lot of these historical myths are tied into just a lack of understanding. Witches in Salem, vampires. What do you know about werewolves? How's that a thing?
So there's so many different types. My favorite, so like we learned about different like elements and different ways that people can become a werewolf, right? One was like the very common scratch by all of that. One of the ones that reminds me, or that one of the ones that I'm thinking of that was just the most random was that if you drank water from a wolf's paw print under it, like at night. So like if you were like, if a wolf was just going and there was like rain and you like were to drink that
Very
water.
particular.
Right. And I'm also like, who's going to do that? Like that's such a small amount of water. It's like, why would you want that?
Yeah, where did that come from? Interesting.
I'm trying to remember some of the other ones. I really should have gone through my old notes in preparation for this.
Did you guys ever read Epic of Gilgamesh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I was
classic.
reading
What's
online that
That's one of the first works of literature ever.
Oh.
and
It
it's
was
saying
found on
that
a
that's
tablet.
That's
Ancient
also
Sumerian.
the earliest surviving example of a man to wolf transformation.
Whoa.
That's
And
cool.
dates
I
back
didn't
to
know that.
2100 BC.
I didn't remember that. That's interesting. But yeah, it's one of the first pieces of literature ever. It's called the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's from the ancient Sumeria. It was written on stone tablets in... look up what it's called, that language. Shoot, I can't remember the name of the language.
Not Sumerian?
Q something. I don't know, but it's really interesting. One of my favorite topics is actually
Sumerian.
No, there's Q something. The language is something else. The style of writing is called something else. Look up like the way Sumerians used to keep track of their accounting or something.
Okay.
There's a different language, but one of my favorite topics is the translation of ancient texts to English.
Akkadian?
No,
You say circadian?
Akkadian.
Oh, I was like,
Cubic-
that's like
it's like
time.
cubic something. I don't know. I can't remember right now.
That's cool.
I've had a couple sips of beer.
But no, so one of I can't remember some of the origins of werewolves, but one of the stories that we read was Little Red Riding Hood, and that like that has elements of like werewolfness too, right? And so
course.
like, and we saw it like in. Did you ever watch Red Riding Hood
I'm sure
with with Amanda Seyfried?
I feel like I've seen it. I can't remember.
So good. I have a bunch of these movies on DVD, so we can have
Oh,
a
that's
full
cool.
on movie night.
We got to do it.
But that one, like, with both vampires and werewolves, a lot of the like stories all stemmed from like lack of innocence being lost, and so like part of the reason why Little Red was wearing a red hood was that, right, as like her innocence being like removed, and then like having to go through and like seeing the wolf, and yeah, it's great.
Very cool. Yeah, I like that. I think I have a copy of Grimm's Fairy Tales out there on my bookshelf too.
Oh, we can read those.
Where all that came from. But what was I had another question that came up during that werewolf conversation. Oh, so this was something I noticed too, and I believe that in the original Dracula novel, this is the same thing as the movie. People do not turn into vampires from a bite, correct?
I think it depends on so just a bite, or Thomas in the movie got bit. Yep.
Right. He didn't transform.
No.
Most of the people he did attack or like feast on, whatever you want to say, they would either die, get sick, but they never really turned, right? We didn't see any examples of that in the movie.
No.
Is that a later invention?
I think, so what I've seen in a lot of different vampire like lore, I guess even Twilight to an extent too, is that you need to have something of the vampire in you in order to change, right? So like the vampire will feed you their blood. And so I mean like the scene where Bella turns into a vampire wasn't that, but like Edward was like licking her wounds, and so like that's part of him, and so it's some aspect of them coming into.
And I think in Twilight more they mentioned something about like venom, right? Mm-hmm. So that wasn't really ever explicitly mentioned in this either, because they were getting sick and like kind of dying from it, but they never really said it was like a venom. It just kind of was like a wound.
Yeah. And I think they've seen it like in Buffy. You have to have. I've been watching a lot of Buffy.
I've never watched it.
I'm almost like I had never watched. I'd watched like maybe like an episode here or there growing up, but then that wasn't like I didn't watch it too much. But it's on Hulu, and so I started it in October. And I'm almost done. I went through 7 seasons and I have like 4 episodes left. I'm very excited. But like, so there, and then in the Vampire Diaries, you have to have vampire blood in you. At least for the Vampire Diaries, it's like you have to have vampire blood in you and you have to die. So like a lot of people, there's a lot of neck snapping in that show too. So like they'll be like, all right, I'm going to feed you my blood, snap your neck, and now you're a vampire. Actually, you have to feed and then you're a vampire.
And then do vampires in a lot of these other iterations of them, do they have the powers like they do in Twilight?
Like the
super
psychic
strength,
and
the
a lot
speed.
of not in the comic way that the very first Twilight movie was, but
pretty funny.
Strength is definitely a big one. Speed, I think it depends on like which vampire thing you're looking at. So like in Buffy, they can't run that fast, but in the Vampire Diaries, they can. And then like in Twilight, they can. But I don't imagine even the Count in this one having super speed, but I can see him having super strength.
There actually is like a scene though, where when Thomas first arrives at the mansion or the castle, he's looking at Orlok in one direction, and he like turns around and he's next to him.
See,
so it's not necessarily speed, but it's kind of like an ability to transport.
I thought it was... See, when I saw those, I thought it was more like perception.
Okay.
Right? Because
like
vampires have a lot of like mental abilities too, right? And so seeing that, it was almost like Tom was in a trance.
Mm-hmm. And I'm really glad you bring that up, because that first like half of the movie feels like a trance. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of jumping around that happens. And so if you go in watching this movie, it's kind of disorienting at first, right? Like you'll see Tom do this, and then all of a sudden it skips to him like upside down next to a statue, and then he's waking up in the morning, and there's a lot of him.
It's like time gaps.
Yes, there's story missing, but it's definitely intentional. It's not like a mistake in the filmmaking, which I thought is awesome. When you can pull that off in the way that it was pulled off in this movie, it just feels really good. Because in the novel, he spends about a month.
It was a long time.
Yeah, he spends about a month there. He's talking about being a prisoner. So the novel's really cool. I forget exactly what they call the style of writing, but it's all through journal entries, letters, newspaper articles. And so the first 4 chapters are Jonathan Harker in the movie Thomas Hutter, his journal entries. And so you get to see his perspective, what's happening to him when he's traveling, when he gets to the castle. And you don't get as much detail in the movie, but I feel like that's intentional, and it really works, actually. Yeah. It really works.
Oh my God, I had a thought, and then it disappeared.
That's the magic of podcasting.
It is, right? So this is my, like, where I felt like, ooh, I feel cool talking about a film thing, is I loved the transition in, like I guess it was like that speed thing, right? Mm-hmm. But like where you would see like a camera pan. So like we're here at the door, and then it's like here's a wall, and now we're at the other door. Yeah. And so like it A, saves time in terms of transition, and B, it just adds to what you were talking about of the it felt mental
like something
state.
Skipped. Mm-hmm. But it's not like you're saying. It's a mental. It's supposed to put you in this disoriented state, which Thomas was definitely in. Yeah. Like he was just getting fed on throughout that time. Apparently, as you'll see in the movie,
we did not get to see the one scene that I was really excited about with which is like the queerest thing in Dracula, when he cuts his finger and then Dracula's
and he just goes for it,
licks his finger, and I'm like,
they skipped that.
That
was where I was talking about, where it cuts from one shot to him upside down with the staring at the statues. But yeah, in the original Nosferatu, that's a big part of the whole movie. Yeah. That was a huge, eye-opening scene for Jonathan.
Man? Yeah. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, that was enormous. And I saw it, and I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. They're going to harken back to it. And it just kind of skipped it. Yeah. But it does work in a sense. But that reminds me, though, the old movie, it just felt like it pulled some stuff off a little bit better like that.
My brother, I've told you about, is like a huge film thing. He was mad that the stair scene, like that iconic scene, was not really seen in this one.
That's one of my favorite shots in movie history.
Yeah.
That, as well as when he gets off the boat in the 1922, where he's like, it's just like his figure over the boat right before he and that's the other thing in this new movie. It's in Germany. In the novel and the original
was it? Because
England.
they're all British.
Yeah, but it's in Germany. That's what's weird. I don't get why they made that
They're
change.
all British.
They made that change for no reason.
Oh no, they made so in the OG one, they were also in Germany. Like in the OG Nosferatu, they were in Germany.
But he was
too.
buying in the book he buys a property in London.
Yeah, but that's why they
Okay.
them trying to like make it different, but not actually different,
I
so
see.
that's why they were hearkening back to that for this one.
Oh, okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. But yeah, you're right. They were all British.
They
single
were.
character.
I was like, how you couldn't get German actors? Although I will say Willem Dafoe, and I know you love Willem Dafoe.
I love Willem Dafoe.
He was my favorite character in the entire movie. Like
By
I
far.
was just like, because
By
he was funny, which you wouldn't necessarily think in this kind of movie, but he was funny, but he wasn't like comedic relief. He was just like,
he was necessary. Like he was there. And
come on, Van Helsing.
It really fit in perfectly. I've been loving everything Defoe's been doing. Did you watch the what was that movie you liked last year, Evan, with Emma Stone?
Poor Things.
Poor Things.
That was the episode I listened to.
So good.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
It was so good.
And Willem Dafoe made it, in my opinion. That character is so out there in a great way.
Well, he's one of my favorite aspects of No Way Home.
What is that?
Like the Spider-Man movie.
Oh,
because he comes
I
back
forgot
and
about
he
that.
was like,
Yeah.
I feel like
he really was the best part of that.
His performance in the original Spider-Man movie was already good.
Yes.
But I think like,
That's what I know
bringing
him
it
from.
back. Yeah, but I think bringing him back because I felt even more goblin-y in No Way Home.
He felt like he was like, I gotta upstage myself.
Yeah,
and he's at
and
a
he
point,
did.
He's at a point in his career where he can't do anything wrong, in my opinion.
No,
he's doing so well.
It was great. There's a movie we saw a trailer for. I think it's another A24 movie, but it was like a girl and there's this like little monster looking thing. It's kind of cute, but he's in that and like I only wanted to go see it because he's in it because I'm like, now I sound like my brother. My brother was like, I'm so excited for Willem Dafoe and Nosferatu.
Have you seen Florida Project?
No.
That's one of my favorite movies ever. You have to check it out. It's so cool. And he is in it. He plays like this manager of a long stay hotel thing. And it's like a project and he's like scolding these kids all day who are just goofing around. And the movie has no plot. It just follows these kids who are goofing around all day in this thing. But it's like a slice of life movie. So realistic, so sad, so good. It's just a raw movie. I love it.
Sad. I don't know.
Gotta
if I
watch
would
it.
do sad
It's not
movies.
sad. I mean, it's sad because it's realistic. Like, it's
Yeah.
life. You know, it's just about these kids, and you just follow them for like a year in their life. And Willem Dafoe kind of takes them under his wing, in a sense, because he's like the manager of this property they live at, and he's like watching over them, like, where's your mom?
I would love Willem Dafoe to take me under his wing. I would learn so much.
Evan, can we grab a beer, buddy?
Yeah, what do you want?
It's in the big fridge, not the beer fridge. It's
Okay.
the French toast bastard.
Okay, just one. Split it, I guess.
Yeah, we're gonna split it. It's a heavy boy.
I'm very excited.
This is another beer we've had on the podcast before. I really, really thoroughly enjoy it. It's very heavy. It's 11.1%, I believe. So we're splitting it. It tastes like maple syrup.
Maple syrup?
I've had a beer, as you can tell.
No, that's fine.
But no, I hope you'll like it. It's really sweet. It doesn't taste like a beer, an alcoholic beverage.
I told you. I told them too. I trust you.
I've been wanting you to try this for a long time.
Can you imagine if I like tell all these people I trust you and then I taste
hate
this
it.
one and I'm like, oh, this is terrible.
I'll let you do it. I'll mess it up. I wanted to pour it for you guys.
Dang, I didn't drop the mic for so long.
Hey, can I hit you guys with a podcast question?
What are your New Year's resolutions?
My New Year's resolution it's still the beginning of the new year, to close my exercise ring every single day.
Nice. That's a good one. Ooh, I'm making noise.
Oh my god, now I'm making noise too. The guy on this bottle kind of looks like a mixture of Gandalf and Willem Dafoe.
I think last time we had this on the show, I said it would look like an evil Gandalf. I think that was my exact description of it.
He does look like an evil Gandalf.
Let's take a sniff. Oh my god, it smells like syrup. I forgot how much I like this one.
Oh, that's great.
It tastes like syrup, right?
It does.
Nothing else in there.
So, speaking of syrup, I am a huge, like, my family watches Elf every...
We just watched it when we were in California.
It's
so good.
It is embarrassing to admit, but so you know the scene where he's in the mailroom and he's like, oh, you put syrup in coffee? Why didn't I think of that? I truly thought for the longest time that he, like, actually put syrup in his coffee. And then just because it's, like, Buddy the Elf, I was like, oh, he's just getting drunk off of syrup. Not realizing that it was just alcohol, like, actual alcohol he was pouring in the
so
coffee.
Funny.
And I was like, oof,
that's so funny.
Damn.
Funny story you'll appreciate. I dressed as Buddy the Elf at school last like 2 days before winter break.
What?
Yeah, all the kids were like, "I'm embarrassed to be your student." I was like, "Good."
You have pictures of these?
Oh, I don't think I took any pictures. The costume's in that bag right there, actually.
Oh my god.
I'll show it to you after we're done filming.
Yes.
I was the
Yeah.
Grinch.
You were the Grinch.
Did I tell you guys that?
No.
Well, you knew so.
I can't imagine Evan being a Grinch.
I'll send you a picture.
He was probably like, "Hey guys, I'm the Grinch." And everyone's
Right.
like, "What kind of Grinch is this happy?"
He's actually a Who impersonating the Grinch.
I didn't even think of that until right now. You're so right.
Thank you.
Evan cannot be a Grinch.
That's perfect.
I have to make him a little Grinchy sometimes. Like when we're like having conversations, he's like, "It's fine." I'm like, "No, Evan.
Evan, it's not. I do the same thing. I'm like, Evan, you have to get angry about things sometimes.
Yeah, please tell me." I'm like, "It's me." And if you're angry at me, tell me too. Although I don't know if I want angry Evan at
It'd be
me.
kind of scary.
Yeah.
I
He's just
don't want-
Nosferatu.
I don't want.
I just rose to 7 feet.
I don't want the pent up Evan rage.
Oh no.
It's probably a lot.
I will help him target that rage somewhere else.
Towards Giancarlo.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh, somewhere
See?
else. Yeah,
Towards
right.
me.
Like, oh my goodness. Okay, question. So I know, and I was like thinking about this as we were watching the movie. I know that you are not a fan of sex in movies.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about the sex in this movie?
Okay, so I'm not generally. Okay, I'm a fan of sex in movies when it doesn't push the story forward.
Okay.
But it felt like it was a crucial element of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was definitely it was like that prophecy
Yeah.
had to be fulfilled through it. And so to me it was fine. It worked.
It was fine.
It worked. I should say it that way. It worked because it was a necessary element of the story. I hate when it's in there to literally just be like, we wanted to have sex in our movie.
Well, that's how I felt about seeing Nosferatu naked.
That did feel kind of like superfluous. I read an article like 2 days ago.
It was prosthetic.
The prosthetic penis one. Yep. And I was like, why is that necessary?
That's what my mom told me this before we go into the movie, and I was like, when is he gonna have sex? I was like, we just watched 2 versions of this movie. When is he gonna like be naked like that?
Yeah, so spoiler alert, it's when he rises out of the sarcophagus when Thomas is attempting to kill him. It wasn't that noticeable, right?
No, it was.
Why did it have to be prosthetic?
It didn't have to be.
That's what I'm saying. It just wasn't a thing that should have
I was
existed.
like, because the whole idea is like, oh, he has to sleep in his crypt.
Yes.
Sleep in his soil. Like, when you, at least for the most part, when you bury people, they're still clothed.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that. That's a great point. I did wonder, like, why does he look so dead? But it tied into what you were saying, I think.
No, it did, but it didn't, right? Like, the bloated corpse makes sense, but like, he's not dead. And then the whole idea of the blood gives life.
He should revive. I was waiting for that the whole time. In the book, there's a
He's
scene,
like an old man in the beginning of the book, and then he becomes this like.
There's a scene where his in front of Jonathan Harker, his mustache goes from white to like jet black.
Yeah,
and I was waiting for that. I was really waiting for that. I thought that's what they were going to take advantage of with having shown him so dead at the beginning.
Yeah,
and he's like struggling to breathe and stuff. And so I thought slowly he was going to revive, and that never happened.
I mean, that
that
happened in Bram Stoker's Dracula, the movie, the
Francis
from the 90s.
Ford Coppola one.
Yeah,
one of my favorite directors.
I remember what I was thinking about before. So fun fact. So obviously I talked about like bloated corpses as the beginning of like vampire history type thing, right? But now we're seeing them as like these like aristocratic, like really handsome, like all of these things.
Because even some of the Anne Rice depictions are definitely like that. Like the Brad Pitt one. What's that movie? Is that Interview
That's
with a
Interview
Vampire?
with a Vampire, yeah. That actually happened because of the Byronic hero, so like Lord Byron and the way that he wrote his people. When Bram Stoker was writing, I don't think it was Bram Stoker. It was either him or the one who did Carmilla, like one of the two, took elements of Lord Byron and like the way that his heroes were written, and the elements of vampires and combined them. And so that's now why we have like really attractive, really alluring vampires as opposed to like a bunch of poor people who are just like zombies who want blood.
That's a great point. Yeah, I wondered where that difference occurred. Because I also remember when Twilight came out, people were upset that it was so like...
so pretty.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best way to put it. That's so pretty. Like, I was a big fan of it, and my cousin was making fun of me. He's like, that's not a real vampire movie. Those aren't vampires.
That's what So, in that class, we would always used to joke about that all the time. We're like, we have these, and then we have our Twilight vampires who aren't real vampires. And it was almost like a way... It was really interesting as the classes, we would transition... So we really just followed the vampire. You hear that too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It might be the heater.
You follow the vampire throughout history. And so we started in like Slavic countries, like in Russia, things like that.
That's the stuff that interests me the most.
Like, you would have loved that class.
Yeah, I think so. What were you doing out there? Oh, I could hear it very, very, very clearly.
Oh, it's very loud.
I thought it was the heater. That's how loud it was.
Oh, really?
It was super loud.
Oh, did it stop?
Well,
yeah,
you
now
closed
it
the
stopped.
door.
Yeah, that's really weird.
When I opened the door, you can hear it.
But the whole time you were gone because you left it cracked.
Hey, man, power mics, dude.
It was loud.
Shout out. What are these?
Shout out.
I was gonna plug this brand. I don't remember.
And he doesn't remember what mics he bought.
I know. How am I supposed to ask you for these for ours?
They're Rode mics.
I thought he said bros. I was like, they're bro mics?
Well, that too. But shout out Rode. Rode, we'll take sponsorship. I don't know if they can hear us or not.
I don't know. I'm thinking I'm leaning towards getting those DJI lavaliers.
Those are also Rode.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Because I think that'd be a lot easier.
Rode is really popular in the podcast game.
We had a big issue
Can you hear
getting
me?
this going.
Yeah.
Through?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
you could have contributed your thoughts about the movie too.
I have thoughts.
Oh,
Give some thoughts.
please.
Okay, well, I'm gonna pull on something that...
Do you see that?
I'm ready.
The
Allow
way he
me.
posed over behind the camera. I wish you guys could have seen that.
That's crazy.
Evan thought it was a horror movie. I will just say that. Evan got scared.
Well,
Evan was
okay.
terrified. He said, I have to watch Toy Story now.
Let me shout out Steven for a second, because the second I got scared, Steven put his hand on my shoulder. He's like, "You're okay." But when he comes, obviously spoiler alert, this whole podcast.
I mean, it's a remake of a movie from 1922.
That's true.
It's 102 years
I'm
old. You should know the story.
That's true.
Or
And the
if you had
book's
read
even
it.
older.
Yeah, I was
The
gonna say-
book's even older.
Just so you other people know, I have never seen the original. So
We watched it not in
No,
full.
I never watched it.
No, but you were with me when I had it on the TV
But I didn't
last
pay
year.
attention.
There's a colorized version on Prime. The
That's
colorized version is not very good because
I watched
you
the one
can-
on YouTube.
Oh, see, that
Someone
would be much
uploaded it
better.
on YouTube, yeah.
Because the colorized version, like, they filmed it. Obviously, they filmed it during the day, and they were able to edit it to make it look like at nighttime. But, like, my family and I, when we were watching it, I was like, why is he out? He's a vampire. Why is he out in the middle of the day? He's going to die. And then later we were like, oh, this was supposed to be nighttime.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh,
You haven't contributed yet.
Well, I don't want to rip your flow. You got a thought?
Okay, I had one
Let
thought.
it out.
So,
I got mine.
what I was gonna say was that everyone should definitely check it out on YouTube. It's free. It's so good. Just type in Nosferatu 1922. It'll pop up, and it is so worth a watch.
Yeah. So with that you just inspired. I have a third thought now. But
All right.
Oh, we
Contribute.
haven't even heard your first thought.
I have three. I have three packing in the oven here. My first question is, so at the end when he is killed by the daylight,
Okay.
is that true to the original, Okay.
Except he turns into like a puff of smoke.
Yeah.
Oh.
He just like
Which I actually would have preferred the puff of smoke as opposed to
kinda
the.
gross.
It was very gross.
Well,
he just like kind of
they were
barfed
trying
blood
to mirror
everywhere.
the folklore that not that Van Helsing, that oh man, what's
Willem Dafoe.
Dafoe's character's
I'm just
name?
gonna call him Van Helsing.
The
I forget.
professor.
Okay, I'm down. Well, okay.
They call him the professor a bunch.
But like Professor something.
Yeah, but I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, he was great. But so okay, well I know that image at the end, like this is just a side note, but it like almost nearly exactly like replicated that image from that book he was looking at. But so my question too is, why do you guys think he stayed in that position? Like why? Like what isn't? Like what I'm trying to ask is, Nosferatu. I feel like he would have saw that coming, and so is the prophecy, was the prophecy that he would die?
Yeah.
Yes,
So he knew that was gonna happen to him?
I don't think he.
That
I feel
No,
like
I don't
might-
think he knew.
I might have been both because that book. Oh, actually, that book didn't come from him. That book came from Knocker. I was like, just call him Knock. But the or Canuck, not Knocker, Canuck. That book came from him, so like, there's a chance that Nosferatu didn't know. But then also, if we want to think about Nosferatu as like a tragic character,
Yeah.
he could have wanted to die, and because he was brought back by the devil, and so there's no we don't know his backstory. He could very easily have been like, I didn't want to be like this,
Yeah.
and so now this is his escape. I think that's reading too much into it. I think he just didn't know that he was going to die, but
That's what I think too. Like it was like to fulfill the prophecy, he got distracted, and she knew what was going to happen. And the professor, which I looked up, his name was Professor Albin Eberhardt.
Gotcha.
I would not remember that.
Yeah, I don't
Well, I mean-
recall hearing that.
No,
I know she.
Dr. Friend.
Same here. I don't remember. I was just
Just gonna call him Van
Green
Helsing.
Goblin. The whole time.
Yeah, I was just
Green Goblin.
Willem Dafoe or Van Helsing. That's all he's going to be known as.
Or
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, if you look at the 1980s Last Temptation of Christ film.
Oh, I have not. But leads me to my third point about him, or about Van Helsing. I mean,
Yep.
that doesn't. But
I mean, but Jesus was present. Like was he as present? No, he was present for Tom. There we go.
Yes.
Keep going.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So the movie
hear that
Van
airplane?
Helsing, we were talking about this earlier with Hugh Jackman.
That airplane is loud.
Oh yeah, you don't hear
You
the
guys really
airplane.
can hear it, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amplifying it.
Maybe we're vampires.
You know what? No, I'm not sure. The mics might be a little extra hot tonight, and by hot I mean just ready to capture everything. But that's okay. So in the movie Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman, I love that movie. That's actually fun fact. That's the only movie I've seen more than 6 times.
What?
Or-
That's a
or more than-
strange.
That's a
more-
very specific.
I've seen it 6 times.
That's
Only-
strange.
I don't know what it is about that movie, but I love it.
I mean, it's got Kate Beckinsale and Frankenstein and. I'm sorry, Frankenstein. What's monster? My
Well,
brother.
anytime you create a medley of characters that are important to history, folklore, or anything, like when it's a medley of things that are interesting, it's fun to watch. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
even if the plot's not that great, which I think it's pretty good.
It was good for
I
our
don't
time
remember
period.
it at all.
I have that too. I have a collection of
I
vampire
remember
movies.
watching it. I don't remember the story.
Oh man. Well, so what? Okay. So Michael, first of all, what's the difference historically in terms of Van Helsing?
I think Van Helsing
what's
has
more
always
accurate?
Probably Dracula
From
or
here.
from
From the
here or from
books.
Nosferatu. Like they were just banking on Hugh Jackman being hot as like
For that one, yeah.
for that one, and like because it was him and Kate Beckinsale. Like this was a very attractive pair,
Yeah.
and so like
Especially at that point.
But is
in
there
time.
is there anything tied in history with him being somebody who slays monsters across?
I think it's just
folklore?
like the general idea of a monster hunter in
Yeah.
general. He's the like personification of that idea.
But the originality was with Dracula.
it was with this
Dracula,
one. Yeah, he's in this one, but I think if anything, the Hugh Jackman movie could have been like. Not an origin, but like, oh, hey, like
Yeah.
this. I used to hunt vampires, like in my prime, shooting things with the bows and arrows and stuff, and now I'm old, and now I'm here.
He was older.
Yeah.
More
Oh, yeah.
wisdom.
Because even in
Yeah.
Nosferatu, when Willem Dafoe's character comes out and he's like, "You're coming to me as I'm like taking my dying breath" or something. He said to
That,
the
and he
younger
was also
doctor.
trying to turn sulfur into gold.
Yeah,
I wish we had seen that.
that would have been fun. But I was gonna mention something. Now I totally spaced on it. I hate that
He's
about these.
older and...
No, it was unrelated.
About
to
Van
Oh,
that.
okay,
Helsing?
never mind.
I'm just trying to
I think I was going to talk about the connection. You kind of touched on it. The connection between all of these monsters. So I think that connection happened in like the 30s with Universal.
Yep.
Connecting
I was just going to say that.
Frankenstein, the
Oh.
Wolfman, Dracula.
The
'cause they
Invisible
just had-
Man.
Yeah, the Invisible Man. That's a good
Chucky.
one.
I'm just
You said Chucky. You're about like 50 years early to that one, buddy.
Oh, he wasn't a part of that time.
No, no.
Chucky versus Frankenstein.
Can you imagine? I mean,
They're
they
kind
both
of
got the
bringing-
stitches.
That's true.
There's probably some parallels. I mean, you definitely. Well, what I'm trying to say.
I mean,
is
one's a corpse and one's made of plastic.
But like you've got.
A corpse from multiple different people's like parts too. You know what movie's fantastic is Young Frankenstein.
I've never seen that
Oh,
one.
with the Willy Wonka.
Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder is so
Fantastic.
Funny. It's
movie.
hilarious.
Hilarious. So
I've
good.
never seen it. There's...
I can't believe you haven't seen that.
Yeah, that's a great movie. You have to
I'm
watch
sorry.
it.
I need to up my monster movies now, apparently.
It's so good.
No, I actually have a box set of all the original Universal. Except I told you I will bring all of my movies to you to go and we can go through them.
We got to.
I just don't have The Creature from the Black Lagoon. That one.
Oh,
don't
I
have.
love that movie. Have you
I've
seen it?
never seen that one.
It's so good. I actually really enjoy. I've seen that like twice. There's a lot of overlap in a lot of the film classes I took when I was a film major, and so I saw that for like 2 or 3 different classes.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
love that movie. It's really good.
I need to watch that one. No, but we watched Bela Lugosi's Dracula and then the Wolfman in that class.
I heard that that Bela Lugosi was like really big into the cult in real life,
Oh, really?
and so like there was like issues on set because he was like kind of messing with stuff that he shouldn't have been.
Oh, see, that's always my fear when I see if I ever imagine myself oh, maybe I can go and be in movies, and I see some of the things, I'm like, I'm interested in this. I don't know if I want to be saying
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm with you on that. It scares me.
saying these spells. I'm watching Willow and Buffy saying all
I
these
hate
spells, and I'm
hearing it.
like, girl, what are you doing?
Especially when they're doing it in like a real language, like Latin. I'm like, what does that mean?
What could you be doing?
Yeah.
Do you actually
Who are
know
you
the
talking
words?
to?
Exactly. No. Nope. Can't be.
I was watching. We were talking to you about this earlier. I was watching a lot of videos on Zach Bagans' museum here in Vegas, and I was like having nightmares about it.
Absolutely not.
Like through the TV, they'd be like, "Don't look at this. Seeing images of this doll has been known to cause," and then they'd go through a list, and I'm like, fast forward.
Yeah, no. There was one of my friends, I think, when he was visiting, he was like, yeah, I'm going to go to this museum. I'm like, you're going to go by yourself?
Yeah, heck no. I would
Nope.
never step foot in there. I've heard off like Reddit and stuff that stuff attaches to people in that museum, and they go home and they're like, they have demonic like entities surrounding them.
It's good we got with her yesterday.
Oh my god!
You're
Don't even start with me.
The smell of coffee and then also drinking this just reminded me of Elf again. I'm like, oh my God,
Why?
syrup and coffee.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah, no, I'm like, there are a handful of movies that I just will not watch.
Which one?
Horror movies. Now I will watch horror movies, but I really, really don't like movies like zombie horror movies, mostly because
I
zombies
like
freak
the
me
really
out.
old ones.
Well, yeah, because they can't move. They're just corpses at that
Yeah.
point. But
Yeah, I feel like at this point, the new zombie movies are
they're
like-
stressful.
they're kind of like overdoing the idea too. I like Day of the Dead, I think. The really old one from like the 50s. I love that movie. I've only seen it like once because I worked at a movie theater when I started college.
That doesn't surprise me.
And but the theater I worked at, I helped curate like this like classics list, and the manager chose Day of the Dead. And so he let me off early one night to go watch it, and that's the only time I've ever seen it, but it was really good.
I cannot so when Marvel did their What If series.
Oh, with all the zombies and stuff.
They had that one episode. So this is, mind you, when I just started working on staff, and so I joined. I woke up. I was like, oh, it's a new episode. Let me watch it before I get ready and go to work. I walk outside, and this episode's all about zombies, and the first person that goes in, he's like, oh, there's no one here. What's going on? And then he's attacked by zombies. I walk outside of my apartment and see no one. And I was like, what is happening? I was like, am I going to die? Oh, wow.
Wow. That was
Already?
fast. Evan just let us know we're at 1 hour of recording. We're going to keep talking just because it's fun. But we don't let these episodes out too often anymore. We're trying to start a new habit of maybe once a month, and we're hopefully trying to get Steven involved more often. This conversation flowed really easily. And now that Evan's aware he can talk, maybe
I'll have him. I can set that mic up next time.
Okay, cool.
It'll be cleaner.
Because I think this was a great conversation. This really went quick. It went easy. It felt natural. I like that.
It's you have a lot of minds working.
I wanted to hear more from you, Evan.
He didn't even know he could talk. That's what's cracking me up right now.
I know. Well, do you have more thoughts instead of those 3?
I do.
3.
I do. No, I do. My other question is, why does he have a mustache?
That's just how it was written in the book.
He's also like...
But is it actually written in the book that way?
It is.
Yeah.
He had a white mustache. I was telling Steven, I don't know if you were in the room. You might have left at some point. He had a white mustache. And at one point, he drank some blood. And it turned black.
Because it gives him life, which
But
is why he
did
shouldn't
I
have been...
Not.
What?
I thought he did in the OG.
I mean, he didn't. See?
No. But that is inaccurate to the book, which is the original.
Okay.
So like when you come to talk about all the information and all of the copyright infringement and stuff that has happened since, so it's like all public domain, I believe, at this point.
I think so.
And so Robert Eggers is able to work with 102 years plus, because I forget what year the novel was written. It was early 1800s or late 1800s it was written. So it's over 100 years of lore that he's able to work with. Mm-hmm. He uses the title Nosferatu because, in my opinion, as a film person, Nosferatu is iconic.
Yeah.
But he plugs in a lot of the Dracula stuff that wasn't included just because of the fact that it's Dracula. That is one of the most iconic characters of all time, literary as well as film. And so being able to pull from this treasure trove of 100 plus years, he is going to have stuff from the book. He's going to have stuff from the movies, which how many movies are there? I know the Bela Lugosi series is like 8 movies or something, right?
Of Dracula?
Yeah, they just keep adding to the Dracula movies.
That I don't know. I know there's one that I want to watch that I have not watched yet. The Dracula Untold. It's with the guy who played Gaston in the live action Beauty and the Beast movie.
I'm not sure what I'm talking about.
Guys, cool.
So Dracula has appeared in many movies, including Dracula 1931, Dracula and Son, Count Dracula, One More Time, The Magic Christian, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Shadow of the Vampire, Vampire Hunter, Blood for Dracula, The Last Voyage of Dracula.
Wait, when was
The Last Voyage of the Demeter, Nosferatu the Vampire, Nosferatu Symphony of Horrors, Nosferatu. So it just the list of Dracula lore. It's
well, I mean, he's a vampire. He's gonna live forever, so he's gonna be in all these movies.
And that's a great way of thinking about it. Just like the character, the history is just expanding by the day.
What year was the So you're telling me this is someone like I'm trying to like play from the audience perspective here because I am wondering what year the original. Sorry, were you asking about what year the original Dracula?
The novel. So look up Bram Stoker Dracula novel.
Yeah, I was gonna say don't just look at Bram Stoker's Dracula
because that's
then you'll get the movie. No.
1993.
Yeah, I was gonna say 1979
was the
German one.
What's his name? Wim Wenders? No.
Bram Stoker.
The novel, like Bram Stoker's Dracula. When was it?
So the Gary Oldman was Dracula in 1992 for Bram Stoker's,
and he was an old man who got life from blood and became a young. That's what I'm saying. I hated the corpse thing. It grossed me out.
So this is 1897.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Late 1800s.
So when did here's my big question. I don't know. I keep prefacing my questions, but that's how I do it.
They're big.
Thank you. They're huge.
There's only been 4 so far.
Absolutely.
That's why each one of them is big.
This is as big as it gets. So in Van Helsing, or not in Van Helsing, but in Underworld.
Oh my God!
Kate
with Kate Beckinsale.
So
I have those too.
I love those movies. It's been a long time. I can't remember the details, but I
have them. We can watch them.
I would watch every movie with you on those. We never loving those movies. It's been a long time. But when did those the hybrids, werewolf and vampires. What the fuck are they called?
The hybrids.
Oh. Well, I gotta bleep that out. I don't cuss on this show. I'm gonna bleep that out for sure.
Fantastic.
I
We've got to
think
the point where no one cares. This is the uncensored version.
I don't want
it's
my
like
niece
it's
to
like
hear it,
Showtime
though.
After Dark, dude.
Yeah, you're right.
I think they're just called hybrids.
No, there's
Wait, there's hybrids.
Lycans.
I don't.
Lycans was the werewolf. Werewolves were the lycans because it's like the lycanthrope. Like that's
You guys are
like,
getting into some deep stuff now.
They were vampires and werewolves.
Yeah, the werewolves were called lycans.
Are you talking about like
Underworld.
where the
Oh, the wait.
Yeah, the werewolves were lycans, and then like the one hybrid, the really hot guy, was was just a hybrid. That's all he was called, was the hybrid.
It's called hybrid.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Lycan was the hybrid.
No, lycan was the werewolf. There was hybrids in the Vampire Diaries too.
interesting.
I
See,
love that
I'm missing this. You know what?
It's on Max.
What this reminds me of is when I used to play Skyrim and I turned into a vampire and I was like, now I want to be a werewolf, and I couldn't be both at the same time.
You had to just choose.
You gotta email them and be like, I'm sorry, these exist.
I'm sure they changed it. Maybe that game's
bro,
still
where the
going.
hybrids at? Hashtag where the hybrids at?
That game was fun. There was so much lore you could dig into with it. You had to to become a vampire. You had to do all kinds of tasks and go into a mountain and find a vampire to bite you.
Oh, see, that's where they were wrong already. The vampire doesn't just
they did
bite you.
They did their own thing.
Wait, so you're
They
telling
definitely
me
created their own thing with it.
that in historical movies or texts, that sometimes it was saliva that turned him into a vampire?
Or blood. It was usually often blood.
He's saying like the DNA of a vampire.
Like,
had
if
to
it goes in you.
Yeah. It's either so there's
Doesn't that
like
naturally just happen, though?
no, not if
Does that naturally?
no.
No, if they're biting you, their saliva's in you.
Their saliva might be, but that's why, like, for a lot of times, that's why I added saliva for the Twilight ones.
Yeah,
But-
because that one didn't have too much more.
Yeah, but for more often than not, they need, like, you need to feed on a vampire in order to become a vampire. Otherwise, there'd be just like, otherwise a bite could turn you into a vampire because you're like, oh, I got your venom in me too.
I have another question. They can't see my hand,
They cannot.
Evan's hand is raised high.
but I have another question then. Okay, so at the end of the movie, and we're going back to Nosferatu, when wait, what was her name? What's the main character?
Ellen.
Ellen. In the novel, it's Mina.
No, it's Lucy. Mina
No.
was the friend.
Oh, that's wait.
Get your crap together.
Yeah,
dude.
Mina was the friend.
Okay.
Wait,
You need
hold
to-
on. I need you to fact check me.
All right, ready?
I'm pretty sure that Mina was the friend. Are you gonna? I'm pretty
gonna look in the actual book.
All right, while you're looking, I'll ask my question. Here's my question. What do you guys think happened to her soul after she died?
That's a good
Is she
question.
with him?
Chapter 1, page 1. Jonathan Harker says that he had a chicken done up some way with red pepper, which was very good but thirsty. Get recipe for Mina.
Get recipe from Mina.
For Mina, no, because he had it at an inn.
What?
Who was Lucy?
Lucy was the friend.
Oh, was she?
Yeah.
Oh, you're okay. I am wrong. I am
Yeah, I
wrong.
would have believed you.
No,
You had conviction.
because that's what I thought. I was true in my okay.
That's all. That's the secret to life.
Now I feel better.
Life. You just have
Exactly.
conviction.
No, that's a good question though. I feel like maybe she's like in her own. I mean, for the whole movie, she was in her own thing, right? Like she was in her own world. She was very attached to like cosmic energy, as Willem Dafoe put it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe she's like on a different plane than like if Tom were to die, right? Or even Anna. Anna was her friend's name.
In the movie, yes.
Yeah. Then even if Anna died, because Anna was just like there.
Another question.
The hand coming up. I wish the audience. I need a
Didn't
camera on
see
that.
that, yeah, right?
Oh, dude, yeah. Hand raising's where it's at. So on that same token, Willem Dafoe's character, so Van Helsing, the professor.
Professor Albin Eberhardt.
I can't remember.
Get it right, buddy.
It's so hard to remember. Albin Eberhardt. Okay, we're just gonna call him.
Just call him Willem Dafoe.
Just call him Willem Dafoe. There you go.
Green Goblin.
Willem Dafoe was talking to her about like an evil entity that's in her. She was kind of rebuttaling with the fact that she's been a pure soul her whole life, and like she seems like that. She seems like a very pure character. Do you feel as though there's a natural evil? Like, would you say there's an evil entity that was within her,
And that's the way
She
to
even
put it.
asked that at one point. Remember, she said, "Does evil come from within us?"
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think so.
I don't think so. I think so what it was to me, from what I picked up, was that she kind of invited it early on out of loneliness.
As a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, based on my recent viewings on that Zach Baggins museum, you got to ask them to, like, come to you. And you can tell them when you're leaving, like, you can't follow me. Oh. Yeah. But it's still scary.
No,
it's still too scary.
I'm like, what would protect? I would, like, hold sage on me. It'd be like, yeah, no.
Garlic.
Terrifying. Terrifying.
Garlic. Yeah.
So much garlic.
But I think
Boatloads of garlic.
I think it was just like she was
Just more in tune is what he said.
in tune, maybe at this point corrupted, but not evil. I feel like there's like if we think of her soul as like a white light, she has like a drop of like darkness in it from Orlok, but not from her.
Yeah.
Right? Like that she brought him in.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't feel like it's from her. Like you said, it's not within, it's from the outside. And like you brought up that word cosmic. That reminds me of like the opening of the you just said that word
Is it
cosmic.
cosmic?
Did you say
I
cosmic?
did.
Okay.
Don't give Evan credit for this.
Yeah, that's a good word. I wish I
That
could-
word reminds me of like the first line of the Gospel of John where he refers back to God as like cosmic.
Tied in with the Bible.
Yeah. So, and like Stephen was saying earlier, it all like Jesus is technically present. There's a lot of crosses throughout the movie, which in the novel, Jonathan Harker mentions how he doesn't like the concept of a cross because his specific sect of Christianity felt that it was idolatry to look towards a cross, but that the cross was the only thing that kept him safe when he was having like dreams and visions. And we see that in the movie, that first time he wakes up after the gypsies went and exhumed the corpse, he wakes up and rips the cross off his chest.
Yeah.
And so that was my first thought right there, was that part from the book.
Well, that and he's screwed if he rips it off of it.
Yeah,
He's like-
exactly. Like, why would you do that?
Why did she put her hair in the locket?
It was a like.
To protect him?
No, it was. You can't see her. They don't have Instagram at this point. You can't be like, oh, let me look at my love. It's like,
Oh,
no,
it's
here's
like making
here's a
fun of her.
token.
Yeah.
It's my love for you.
Yeah.
It's a,
And that's why. So when
do
he
you
took
think
that,
made Nosferatu like more aware of the fact that that's her locket, or well, he knew that was him.
He knew.
along-
he knew. Well, like that's why he orchestrated the whole thing.
Exactly.
Like he called like because he knew that Tom worked for Canuck.
Oh, that's why. Oh, right.
And so he was like, "Oh,
I get it.
they're married now," and that's why he was so mad at
Yeah.
Ellen. Like, "Oh, you're married now.
Right.
We're gonna fix that."
Right. That makes sense. It was all orchestrated. That's a good point.
What I found interesting was in the novel, it's Renfield is the name of the guy who's going crazy. Is he? I forget now because, like I said, I only read the first 70 pages.
That's Canuck.
It's the same character.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
That's
a
what I
movie
thought.
about Renfield.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
with
just
the-
came out with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, and I think what's his name? Tom.
Yes.
Yeah.
He does play the.
He's also in that movie. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I want to watch that.
And then
I've never seen that either.
Yeah,
a quick.
we should
I would
watch
love
that.
to watch that. And then there's like a little quick aside. Yesterday was J.R.R. Tolkien's birthday, and that same actor plays him in a movie about his life. The guy who wrote Lord of the
Really?
Rings. Yeah, I want to watch that really badly. That's
Who is
that's
that
like my
guy,
favorite
though?
writer.
Let's
Nicholas Hoult.
you know.
He was in Warm Bodies. That was the first time
Yeah.
I ever saw him.
That's
And
like what made him
movie.
famous.
yeah, it was it's essentially a Romeo and that's the one zombie
Zombie.
movie that I really like.
I haven't seen that one.
It's Romeo and Juliet with zombies. It was a book.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It was a book. So I saw the trailer for the movie and I was like, oh my god, this looks good.
It's a good movie.
So I read the book first and then I watched the movie.
He's gonna
He's a
take off
character-
after this movie though. He's gonna be huge now,
Totally.
guaranteed.
He's a character. You know what? So there's when I see it's funny. You can just tell charisma in certain actors, and he's got it.
He does.
You know
Like
who
he
else does?
seems he literally to me spews humble actor. I know that sounds
Oh, yeah.
weird because I don't know anything about him.
Well, he was.
That's why, 'cause
he
I
was
don't know
with,
anything about him.
He was with Jennifer Lawrence at first.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Yes, because he was Beast. They met on.
That's
That's
right.
right. On
Wow,
I
look at me
forgot about that.
showing
Yeah.
things up.
That's good. No, because I don't have as
full
that big
circle
of.
back to Hugh Jackman, huh?
I don't have that big knowledge on the Marvel as much as you. So that was.
I
that
got
was good.
you.
That was good.
No, well, speaking of Aaron Taylor Johnson,
Yeah.
Yes.
That's his name.
He was thinking. You were thinking about it the whole time,
I
huh?
whispered to Steven, "Is this Scarlet Witch's brother?"
And he's Kraven the Hunter.
And I liked him in
That
I
movie
watched
was
that.
not very.
Is it
It was fine.
that movie with Ryan Gosling.
Alright, that's another podcast then, huh?
What was that movie with Ryan Gosling? Fall Guy.
Oh, I want to watch that too.
You haven't seen that? I have
No,
it.
I'm surprised
He's
you
in
haven't seen
there.
I have it.
He's
Yeah.
fun in that one. He's good.
There's that. Yeah. There's that scene. It reminds me of you a lot, Evan, where Ryan Gosling is like, he's like about to get killed, and he tells I think he was telling Aaron Taylor Johnson's character. He tells him, "You need carbs for your brain to work."
That's funny.
That's like what I find myself telling you all the time, dude.
It's true.
Oh, that's great.
Facts.
Yeah, he
That
was-
is very accurate. And I appreciate it. That's why you're my friend, dude. Yeah, moment of love.
But yeah, no, that Kraven was not.
They aged him a
Not
lot in
very
that
good.
movie, though. Well,
Which movie?
Sorry, you were talking about Craving.
Oh, I was just saying he was not very like he was great because it's
I heard the movie's just the same thing as the
every other Sony
Yeah.
Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, that brings me
That's
up.
a Marvel movie?
Yes.
Craven, yeah, Craven the Hunter. He's a
That was
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's like main villain before Green Goblin and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, that was the first Spider-Man comic I read. That's why I think that maybe.
Wait, I thought that movie was taking place in like the 1800s. Like I thought it was like an older,
What?
esque film.
No, okay, so
No, if that was, I wouldn't have missed it.
but you know what
Gotcha.
is really interesting about Craven the Hunter is that from a comic perspective, he was inspired, like the character of Craven, because he's like a hunter who hunts people.
Mm-hmm.
He was inspired by the story of The Most Dangerous Game,
Oh, I didn't know that.
which
That's cool.
I love that. So I taught that story.
That's a cool story. Yeah, I like that.
Teach me.
People hunting, dude.
Yeah, the
That's
most
all you
dangerous
need to know.
really is about people hunting. Like this man is trapped on an island with some guy who he was this amazing hunter who got bored hunting animals, and so he decided to hunt people because they can think and rationalize. And so it's a whole story about like, oh,
I had no
what is
idea.
civilization? Yeah,
That makes so
or like
much
what does
sense.
being civilized look like?
So
I didn't know until
so
recently.
it challenges civilization.
No, like sorry, not civilization. Like what it means to be civilized.
Okay.
Just like rationality, human thought.
Okay. Dang, that's interesting.
Yeah, he did look a little older in this movie though. It was the mustache
But like they,
The mustache,
well,
that's
they
all.
must have purposely,
and the top hat.
They must have purposely aged him. Like they had to do.
They wanted him to look the same
Skin
age as his wife in
aesthetics.
real life.
Huh?
I said they wanted him to look the same age as his wife in real life.
Is his wife?
His
older?
wife's like 70. Her daughter is like the same age as him.
What?
Yeah,
In
look
real
it
life?
up. Look it up. Look it up. Her Aaron Taylor Johnson's wife has a daughter that's like
She's not
2 years younger than him. Yeah.
Oh my god.
People are like she stole his childhood because he's been with her since he's been like 18 too. Yeah, like he's only ever been with her and she's old.
Is he like how Hugh Jackman married an older woman too?
I think it's a similar situation.
Do you think that Aaron Taylor Johnson is also gay then? Because people,
Really? I've never heard that.
you've never heard not about Aaron Taylor Johnson. Have you
About
heard
Hugh
about
Jackman?
Hugh
No,
Jackman?
I have not.
You've never heard that? Yeah, people are like, there's so many people that speculate that Hugh Jackman's actually like either like secretly queer or like has been for a while, and now that he like, and his wife
wife's
divorced.
old.
Yeah.
Interesting.
His wife is 57.
How old is he? He's like 38.
34.
Oh,
He's 34.
See? That's wild.
Oh my god.
They did age him in that movie. Then he looked old. I
Dang.
thought he was a little older.
He still sounded like himself, but
Oh,
that
wow.
is a big age gap.
Yeah, he's on a career path right now too. Though Fall Guy, Craven. I mean, like we said, Craven's not great, but it's a big movie. Then Nosferatu. I since Nosferatu came out, I've been seeing reviews saying it's the best movie of the year, and I agree. I think what other movies came out this year?
Wicked?
Okay, so I liked Wicked a lot. I did. You haven't seen it. I liked it a lot.
What?
But I would watch. I'm gonna watch Wicked again because I already bought it. But I definitely would. I like Nosferatu a little bit better, just a little bit.
No.
Yeah, I know you don't.
No, but yeah.
You've seen it how many times? 6 times?
I've
5
seen it
times?
5 times.
All right. Well, it's gonna be 6.
It's
'cause
gonna be 6.
We gotta watch it.
Yeah,
here
we
now.
have to have a whole sing along. No, but did you know that? I'm gonna call him Aaron because I don't want to feel like saying his whole name. He was Kick-Ass.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
I love that.
that's a fun movie.
It's a fun movie.
I can't get over this age gap though. I don't want
Wild,
to judge,
right?
But that's. I mean, it's very unorthodox, I guess, or whatever.
Unorthodox.
in an interview.
That reminds me. So, one thing that I really loved about Nosferatu was the historicity of it, the accuracy.
Is that a real word?
It is. Look it up, Evan.
Historicity?
Look it up. But anyway,
right after I'm done looking at these pictures of him, and
anyways, there's a scene
Hysteros.
where the nuns are like exercising him.
Historicity.
What'd you
That's
say?
the word for it. It's
Historicity,
not
that's what it is. My bad.
I
But
think I
you're-
like
you're-
historicity better than historicity.
That kind of parallels.
I think that's
with
why I
the
changed
name
it.
No, but
I just like
historicity
it better.
sounds weird.
Historicity.
Look it up. I don't know. But
Anyway,
anyways, there's the
the
scene
nuns.
where the nuns pick him up.
Oh, it is a word.
And they...
Sorry.
What is that noise? Anyways, they're in
a
Orthodox
ghost.
Catholic garb.
Oh yeah,
And
with the
that-
full.
Yes, and even the cross on their whatever you call it, the shirt is on their cloak it's Orthodox, which historically that's who would have been in those mountains, would have been a Orthodox Catholic monastery, not any other type of religion. And normally when you see in a movie, they just show someone with a cross and a nun, but it was so accurate to the time period and the place, and I just love it. And it reminds me that Robert Eggers, in an interview, said that had he not been a director, he would have been a archaeologist most likely. And if you've seen any other movies of his, it's so accurate down to the languages that are spoken. I forget exactly what language he said Nosferatu speaks in this movie. It might be Dacian, which is like an ancient language that's done now. But like I was saying earlier, I love researching about ancient languages translated into English, because when you like look at like the Odyssey or the Iliad or even the Bible, they're written in ancient Greek, and the way that the translation happens is you can use single words to pick out meaning for everything. And so I think that looking at the history of vampires too
Yeah.
changes the definition of what a vampire is based on the language that you're looking at, translating from.
The language, and then even where too, right? Like
Exactly.
because we talked a lot about that there were different, like both in class and then also just like in my own like research too, like that there are so many different cultures that have a vampire or vampire adjacent type of creature that like means something more or less to that specific group.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, to me, the way you can play with translation is just, it's so crazy, because what one word means in a language can be like an entire concept to that culture, but when you translate it over, it's just a word.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that definitely happened with vampires, which is why we see so much variation over time with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was really cool how accurate the things were down to like what the nuns were wearing, because you never see that. I've never really noticed like an Orthodox Catholic cross on someone in a movie, but he had to have that right because he knows the history behind it. He researches everything thoroughly, and had it not had that, it wouldn't have worked for him.
Well, then also just like the idea of like that would be, so not only what you were saying about like that being like in the region, like that would also be like the group that would be the most like against or targeting vampires.
100%.
Right.
100%. Yeah, that's what they're known for, like all those like exorcisms and the devil, anti-devil stuff. So it just ties in perfectly, and that's what I'm saying is that's what's awesome about Robert Eggers' work, is that it's just so realistic. If you watch The Witch, it takes place in, I believe, like the 17th century, so 1600s, early America, and there's just so much lore from that time period surrounding witches. And the way they like handle the community and everything. It's like a really slow movie to a lot of people, but it's because it's just like a slice of that life. It's just a piece of what would happen if you were in colonial America and someone near you thought there was a witch.
I used to tell my students that I was born in 1623, so
Solid.
yeah. I celebrated my 401 birthday this past year.
The funniest thing is that kids will believe it too.
They did. Well,
Yeah.
it didn't help that later that year I dressed up as Maleficent for Halloween, and so I had like
nice.
these giant horns,
Yeah.
and they're like, "This is his true form." I think what really
His
freaked
true
them out
form.
was I told them the year. No, I told them how old, like the number of the years that I was born, and they're like, "No, you weren't. What year were you born?" And I like when I dropped.
You had it ready.
Yeah, I had it ready. Then they kind of like, "What?"
So I
Robert
told,
Eggers is only 41.
yeah, he's a younger dude. Yeah,
That actually, that's crazy.
but
He's younger than Aaron Taylor Johnson's wife.
Very much younger.
very
20,
much.
almost 20 years.
Even
younger.
that age gap would be weird. But I did a summer thing. I told my kids I was a wizard, and so that I have no age that they would comprehend.
That's great.
And then I dressed as Harry Potter, and they're like, "Oh no."
That's cute.
It was good. It was good.
Oh, guys, we're hitting almost an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Can
Oh
you
my
check
goodness. Well, I guess we can always continue this conversation afterwards.
Yeah,
too.
let's wrap this up for the good people because I need to edit it and it's going to take forever to edit. But if you want more of this, we're going to start watching more movies with Steven, having Steven in the conversation. I'm going to look into getting that DJI mic because I think that'll be a lot easier of a setup. It won't have all this noise either. And
No more
then
airplanes.
we can find a 3-pack. We can find a
What'd you
3-pack of them.
I said no more airplanes.
Yeah.
We got to also
They,
get
they
a...
actually will help with airplanes.
We also gotta get. I'm gonna get next time. I'm gonna put my phone right here on a tripod, shooting right onto you. So every time you talk, I can insert it. That'll be solid.
I got things to say.
You
You
do?
do.
I got things to tell the people.
I mean,
Three
we did-
things.
we- it went to 4 eventually.
and I dropped
true.
an F-bomb, so I'm gonna need to cut that out. Oh, I just reminded me.
That's his biggest concern. That's gonna mess with his head for the
Now
rest
I
of
have
the
to
night.
filter out the fact that I said an F-bomb twice. Darn it.
Stop saying
I'm
it.
making it worse.
All right, everybody.
All
Remember
right.
to always beer happy.
Be
And
happy.
we haven't done this in a while, huh?
Yeah, we're rusty.
All right. Later. Peace.
Bye.
Later.
That was good. That was solid.
All right, I'll get to work. I'm gonna edit this. I'll have this to you guys for tonight.
Oh, that was fun.
That was a good time. I mean, it'll get. Me and Evan always say